Today we're going to be working with the NASA app. This is a pretty impressive app that is going to be able to provide us with a lot of useful content in the classroom. Students can be able to download this from the App Store absolutely free. So make sure that they begin the lesson by installing this program on their devices. Install your programs now. You can have your students open the apps by selecting the icon from their iPads. Once open, the NASA main menu is comprised of 9 options. You can view current missions going on. You can view tweets sent out from the NASA account. You can view a map that will show you the location of all the launch centers in the US. You can see HD images, pictures taken from space. You can view NASA's TV and radio programs. You can see special featured items sponsored by NASA. You can see tons of videos that will be pretty useful in science classrooms. You can see the latest news and features from NASA. And lastly, you can get more familiar with the Space Launch Program, a specific sector of NASA that's dedicated to the science of putting things in space. But we'll take a look at all of these options a little bit more closely. The first thing we're going to look at are current missions, videos, and tweets. Starting with missions. By selecting this option, it'll open up the missions menu that'll show you all of the current missions going on by NASA. Most of these are compromised by various satellites monitoring different data, but it's actually kind of interesting since the United States has so many satellites in orbit, all taking data for so many different things. You can be able to see satellites that help track global warming, satellites that track the migration of birds, satellites that look into the depths of space to try to bring back clearer pictures of what's out there. By having students utilize the missions option, we can be able to have them gain access to some technical knowledge that they wouldn't have even known existed before. It's pretty good so you can have students keep track of ongoing missions over a school year. Next, you have videos. All of your options are pretty solid. These videos are handpicked by NASA and sponsored by the National Space Program as well, just so that we can be able to give the public a better idea of various things, what it's like to be an astronaut, the effectiveness of different programs, new ventures that NASA's wanting to launch, or just PR pieces to help students and curious public get a glimpse on the inside of a very important public institution. Lastly, we can be able to check out the tweets function. By clicking on the tweets button, it'll just open up a stream of different tweets from different people associated with NASA, some astronauts, some scientists, some administrative staff. But by following these folks, we can be able to get, in real time, updates about what's going on with our space program. Our next 3 items are the TV and radio button, the news button, and the launch centers button. Starting with TV and radio, we, after clicking this button, can be able to see NASA Television, a TV channel that if you have certain cable packages, you might be able to see on your actual television set. It's kind of interesting because they have a variety of programming. A lot of it is informative pieces, but you can also get a lot of just interesting and beautiful live streams and pictures from space. The next is the news button. The news button is pretty useful since it's updated pretty frequently. What it is it just keeps track of all the news surrounding NASA and its ongoing projects. You can also be able to find some general science news that might be breaking if it's important or related to the field. Lastly, you have the launch centers button. This might be something that's interesting for students, especially depending on where you live. By clicking on the Launch Centers button, you can be able to see the various places that the United States keeps launch centers, tasked with the responsibility of getting anything from satellites to actual space shuttles themselves into space. Have students track the locations of launch centers here. The final 3 options that we will be looking at today are the featured programs, images, and the featured items. If you click on programs, you can be able to take a look at a list of all of the past, present, and future missions that NASA intends on going on. This is a great place to have students go and utilize. Here they can be able to get anything from very concrete information about programs actually going on that can be used in science and STEM classes in general, or they can be able to come here for a sort of science fiction to see what scientists are wanting to do in the time of tomorrow to help inspire them, whether they're in a writing class or in an art class or any other non-directly STEM program. You can get a lot of information. You can get a lot of useful items from looking at the programs that the government and the public is investing in terms of science and scientific progress. The next button we have is the images button. By clicking here, we can be able to see pictures of both Earth, nearby planets, nearby moons, and the depths of space taken from various space satellites stationed around the planet. These pictures are beautiful, and they're rare. These photos are beautiful, high definition, and rare. Having students use this app could be justified just for this section of the app alone. Lastly, we have the featured items. You can be able to think of these less as articles, but rather collections of information based on theme that NASA features prominently on its website. Whether it be generally informative things about our solar system, distant galaxies, the science of moons, or the possibility of water in space, you can come to this section and be sure not to be let down by any of the creative content that you can find. As I've mentioned, the NASA app could be utilized in two really easy ways. The first one I see is being able to use it in STEM classes. This is already not only real world application of a lot of things that you'll be working on those classes, whether it be a physics class that necessarily could look at the engineering realities of getting an object that large into space, calculating the weight, the liftoff, the draft against gravity. Or you can be able to take it and put it in the second option at the other end of the spectrum to try to embrace a more arts-based approach at viewing the natural world and space. I think that using these in either of these approaches could get you a lot of pretty cool results. I think that students, when seeing real things that can spark curiosity, they tend to give us pretty good results. It's one thing to be able to see an illustration in a book of what space might look like, and an entirely different one to be able to get an image taken by a satellite. You get images that look rare and beautiful because they're things that people have never seen before and are only capturing for the first time. They have thousands of images, hundreds of articles, so there's tons of content to be able to utilize. And the best and most impressive thing to me is simply that it's free. Be sure to download this app. It's a deal that you can't miss out on.